Joining me now is Trevor Loudon. We're going to talk about the guy, a Muslim socialist that's running for mayor of New York City, the primary today. He's like 16 points ahead in the last poll I saw. Let's find out who this guy is, what he's all about. Got some interesting clips. Let's go to our expert on Marxism, Trevor Loudon. Hey, Trevor, welcome back to Brannon Howse Live. Thanks for being with us.
Always a pleasure, Brandon. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So what do you know about this guy? Zohran Mamdani?
Mamdani.
Zohran Mamdani.
Well, as you say, he's a Marxist and a Muslim, but it's way worse than that. He's a card-carrying member of Democratic Socialists of America, and the whole of Democratic Socialists of America from all over the country is backing him with phone banking, with money. So he's got an army of 90,000 people behind him. That's pretty big. And this is how the AOC won her congressional seat, etc. You know, with these mass support from DSA. And DSA is a communist organization. They're aligned to Cuba. They're aligned to various Marxist groups all around the third world. They are a communist group. But the other factor is that he's not just a Muslim, he is a Shia Muslim. He's a Twelver. That is a sect of Shia Islam that is the official state religion of Iran. So he is in part of the most militant section of Islam. The Twelvers.
Are they looking? What are the Twelvers looking for the 12th Imam?
The 12th Imam to return to earth, which
comes during a time of great chaos, right?
That's right. They believe that the 12th Imam will come back to earth and usher on the day of judgment. But to hasten his return, their job is to create maximum chaos on earth, wars, revolutions, terrorism, etc. So this explains the position of the Iranian regime, why they're just continually causing trouble wherever they go. The trouble isn't for any political reason, it's their religious motivation. You know, they're going to bring on Judgment Day by creating maximum chaos and destroying as many Christians and Jews as they possibly can. So this guy is an open and proud Twelver. He adheres to the same branch of Islam that is the official state religion of Iran. And his whole family is the same way. His mother's a famous film director. She did Mississippi Masala and Monsoon Wedding and things like that, but a very, very strong anti-Israel activist. And his father is even worse. He's a professor at Columbia University. He took part in the big pro-Hamas rallies that were recently there. He works very closely with people from the Freedom Road Socialist Organization or Liberation Road, the pro-Chinese Maoists, the people that started Black Lives Matter, the people, and this is important, DSA and Liberation Road. The father's with close to Liberation Road, the son is part of DSA, are both leaders of the defund the police movement and the George Floyd movement. And so what do you think they're going to try and do in New York regarding crime?
Yeah.
What do you think they're going to try and do with the police intelligence service? New York's one of the only city governments now that has its own police intelligence department, which has kept the city pretty safe since 9/11. How do you think they're going to go under Mamdani, a guy with both Shia Islam sympathies and communist sympathies?
Look at this. This is him, right? You say his attitude toward the police. This is him, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's him, right?
Yeah, so how do you think police morale is going to go under him? Now, here's an important point, Brannon. The worst time in New York in the last 40 years was in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. The place was a cesspit. You know, Times Square was a mess. There was drugs, crime, prostitution everywhere. The tourists were staying away. Rudy Giuliani had to come and fix it, right? Why was it a cesspit? because the mayor at the times was David Dinkins, another member of Democratic Socialists of America, a Marxist, who didn't support the police, didn't police crime, and just thought criminals were just poor, oppressed people. So the last DSA communist to be mayor of New York brought New York into the pits. It was the worst time for New York in a century. Well, now you've got a guy who's even worse, who's also got radical Islamic ties and a militant anti-police history, an actual Marxist, an actual 12er, stands a good chance of becoming mayor of America's most important financial city.
And he's going against Cuomo, the former governor, right?
Cuomo, yeah. And it's not often I cheer for a Cuomo, but tonight I am.
Yeah, I bet. Here, look at this little clip. We can't play the whole thing, but look at this. Here we go.
My name is Zohran Mamdani. I was born and raised in Kampala, Uganda. I moved to New York City when I was 7 years old. And my political journey is in many ways centered around the issue of Palestinian solidarity activism. So, growing up in a family that was very political, the issue of Palestine was one that was very near and dear to me. And, I'm Ugandan. My father came of age in the independence era, fighting against the forces of colonialism, both in terms of that which was there prior to independence and that which was there post-independence. And Palestine was always a struggle that anyone who cared about independence in that time and who cared about colonialism and who then cared about apartheid in South Africa also cared about Palestine, especially where I grew up. And when I went to college at Bowdoin College, a small liberal arts school in Maine, I co-founded our school's first Students for Justice in Palestine, SJP. And for me, that was a real moment where my politics transformed from something that was passive, something that I held and maybe discussed and debated on Facebook, into something that was active, where I organized with others to create events and to agitate my fellow students and to push campaigns around the campus. And, we had maybe 8, 10, sometimes 11 active members, but because we were all so invested, we started to host the first Palestinian Film Festival that we had at our school. We launched an academic boycott campaign to get our school in compliance with the demands of BDS vis-a-vis universities that we were partnering with or having study abroad with in Israel.
By the way, BDS, boycott, divestment, sanctions. So it's boycotting all Israeli companies, Israeli products, which these people never really do, because you're going to stop eating cherry tomatoes, or you're going to stop using thumb drives, you're going to stop using cell phones. I mean, this is so stupid. This guy's an idiot.
Well, this is the thing, though. New York has a huge Jewish population. A lot of support for Israel, a lot of financial support for Israel comes out of New York. A lot of pension money, I believe, is invested in Israel. If he is in power, he's going to do everything he can to defund Israel and break those bridges. He is a militant anti-Israeli guy. And just another thing, you mentioned the word colonialism. Well, his father worked very closely with, I said, a Maoist called Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz. What brought them together? They were both opponents of colonialism, and they both believed that Palestinian terrorism and other terrorism around the world was not terrorism because it was done in opposition to colonialism. So if it's done in opposition to colonialism, it's not terrorism.
And how do they define colonialism?
Well, that's Israel as a colonialist power in the West, in the West Bank and Gaza, for instance. It's a colonialist power. It treats the Palestinian territories as colonies. America's a colonial power because it has control of Puerto Rico. It took land from the Indians. It took Hawaii and this kind of thing. So America's a colonial power. Israel is a colonial power. So terrorism against Israel or America is not really terrorism. It's freedom. It's fighting for freedom.
That's what they teach.
That's what they teach. That's what his father taught. That's what Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz taught. And he referenced colonialism in the speech you just showed me. So this is a guy who hates the cops, hates Israel, really, I believe, hates America, is a Marxist revolutionary, an Islamic 12er, a Shia Islam 12er, sympathetic to Iran. But other than that, look, you'll be great.
Here he is talking about New York to a bunch of Muslims. Listen to this.
Alhamdulillah, there are 1 million Muslims in this city. 200,000 of us are registered to vote as Democrats. In the last election, only 7% of us voted. Now, I will not blame anyone because often it feels like there isn't much to vote for. But this June 24th, with early voting starting tomorrow, it is an opportunity for us to show that Muslims don't just belong in New York City, we also belong in City Hall. Because yesterday I stood on the debate and Andrew Cuomo stood next to me. And here was a man who was the governor for a decade, and he could not name a single mosque he had ever visited. He could not name it because he does not care.
Wow. So there you go. So a lot of Muslims are going to go out for him, I guess. So we'll see where that goes.
Well, this is the thing, isn't this is why there's the big danger of mass Muslim migration is the political power that eventually comes with it. We see this all through Europe. We may now see it in our most important financial center. So look, hopefully he will not be elected. But the fact that a hardcore 12er Shia Marxist belongs to a group that hates the police and loves communist Cuba could even be on the ballot is shocking in itself. Even the fact that he's a contender, but that's the power of the organized left, and it's the weakness of the U.S. media. Those are the two things that have brought
I bet there's not a lot of conservative, so-called conservative outlets tonight exposing his Islam, is there?
No, look, Amy Meck has done, as I said, our friend Amy Meck has done a lot of work on this. There's a few others, but you won't hear this on Fox News. You won't hear this on anything like that. It's just too contentious.
Yep.
But
in fact,
imagine
here he is.
Wake up tomorrow and he's the mayor. Imagine what that's going to do.
Yeah. Well, if he wins the primary, he likely wins the general.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. The primary is the election in New York.
The primary is the election in New York. Here he is, I guess, wanting to set up socialist grocery stores. Here we go.
Grocery prices are out of control. The cost of eggs and milk has skyrocketed. Some stores are even using dynamic pricing, jacking up the cost over the course of a day depending on what they can get away with. It doesn't need to be this way. I'm Zohran Mamdani, and as mayor, I will create a network of city-owned grocery stores. It's like a public option for produce. We will redirect city funds from corporate supermarkets to city-owned grocery stores, whose mission is lower prices, not price gouging. These stores will operate without a profit motive or having to pay property taxes or rent, and will pass on those savings to you.
Grocery store that doesn't care about profit, doesn't have to pay property taxes or rent, and underbid the free market enterprise entrepreneur who has worked there maybe for decades. Or maybe it's been in their family for 100 years, their grocery store. Let's set that up. This is socialism, but that's what you're saying he is. He's a Marxist Islamist. He's the epitome of the red-green. He's the epitome of the red-green axis in one guy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, imagine what he's going to do to the retail industry, the food retailing industry in New York, which tens of thousands of families depend for their livelihood on. But this is what socialists do. They wreck a whole sector. They put up some little substitute, and this is the big thing they champion. I don't think the Cubans even still have such a degree of public ownership of food distribution as this guy is proposing. But you say this is the red-green axis. This is the enemy of the West. This is what Carlos the Jackal warned us about, the Venezuelan terrorist who said America can only be destroyed through a coalition of radical Islam and Marxist revolutionaries.
Here he is changing up his accent, I think. Here.
Because I think that New Yorkers, more than they hate a politician they disagree with, they hate a politician they can't trust.
On the subject of trust, you've adopted different speaking accents in different scenarios.
But they go to their local bodega.
Is there one that's real and one that's affected?
What I would say is, as any immigrant knows, having been born in Kampala, Uganda, and then raised in South Africa and moving here when I'm 7 years old, is there are different parts of my life.
Worldwide tour is a worldwide tour is a worldwide tour.
Mamdani was talking about a worldwide press tour back when he was a rapper.
Bring the flavor to the fish, bring the flavor to the rice.
In a Disney movie directed by his mother.
Nepotism and hard work goes a long way. Here in New York City, this is how I speak.
Wow. He seems like a fraud from the word go when it comes to his political shenanigans, doesn't it? That's my opinion.
Okay, well, he's running as a Democrat, but he's a communist, so there's a fraud right there. He's running as a moderate when he's an extreme Shia 12er. There's another fraud right there. You know, Marxist...
Hold right there. Hard break. We'll be right back.
Nature has a rhythm, a quiet strength, a way of restoring, protecting, and renewing us. Wellness isn't just about how you feel today. It's the quiet choices you make for tomorrow. At myvitamin.com/worldview, we've made daily self-care simple. Quality vitamins, daily supplements, and targeted nutrition. myvitamin.com/worldview makes it easy. Pure ingredients thoughtfully combined, tailored for your body. Formulated by a doctor who has over 25 years of medical practice experience and is a certified functional medicine provider. Visit myvitamin.com/worldview today and take the next step towards strength, balance, and resilience. Discover the wide range of med packs made for you and your loved ones. What you nurture today becomes the strength you walk in tomorrow.
All right, welcome back. We're going to go to Colonel Rob Manus here in just 1 second. Joining me now again is Trevor Loudon of TrevorLoudon.com. TrevorLoudon.com. So, I don't know why Donald Trump doesn't sell Trump Tower, to be honest with you. After the way that state treated him, I don't understand why he doesn't divest his interest and get out of that state. But if this guy wins, I mean, can you imagine owning, whether it's Donald Trump down to the local gas station owner, can you imagine owning a business in New York City under this guy?
No, I can't. And I can't imagine losing my job, which thousands of New Yorkers will soon do when the private sector tanks, when the crime goes through the roof, where the bad old days of Dinkins come back, where the police are harassed and disbanded. And I'm sure that he's going to be a very opposing to any ICE attempts to round up the illegals in New York. Mm-hmm. So I'll be fighting back on that as well. And he's got a powerful city government behind him, and he's got a whole nest of fellow Democratic Socialist America comrades already on the New York City Council, plus a Democratic Party that's thoroughly infiltrated by the left. And there's nothing good that can come out of this. No. And I just hope enough sensible New Yorkers vote against this man to make sure he is, working at McDonald's next week.
TrevorLoudon.com, TrevorLoudon.com. As always, Trevor, we appreciate your worldview analysis.
Thanks so much, Brandon.
Check out his books. Check out his books, his X account, everything. Trevor Loudon, okay, and TrevorLoudon.com.